You're still watching TVC Breakfast. We now move to this very timely conversation. Now, sexual and gender-based violence continues to threaten the safety, dignity, and future of countless women, men, and children. Now, studies suggest that in many communities, only a fraction of cases are reported, leaving survivors without the help they desperately need. But beyond outrage and awareness, what does real community action look like? How can families, leaders, institutions, and young people work together to prevent abuse, support survivors, and ensure accountability? Joining us for this conversation is co-founder and executive director, Access to Learning and Social Initiative and Sustainability Development, Advocate Habib Balogun. He joins us this morning for this very timely conversation. Good morning, Habib. How are you doing?
Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm fine.
Nice to have you on the show. So we'll just go straight into this conversation. And I want to take it from this angle. You know, oftentimes we say that when people come out and say that, oh, they've been raped and all of that, we do not really give them the justice that they need. So it has made a lot of people afraid to even come out and speak. And then people started speaking, we started listening to them. And then we saw the false accusations that, you know, falling in. We saw that with Mirabel. We saw that with the lady that accused the David guy and later came out to apologize that nothing happened. Now, when things like this happen, it's a very big problem because it now makes people will be very skeptical to believe when another lady comes out to say that she's been raped. It's a very big issue. First of all, how do we deal with people that are accusing men falsely before we even go into, you know, proper gender-based violence?
Okay, so for us to know how to deal with false accusations, we need to know what the law already provides. False accusations prevail because people are not aware of the provisions of the law. People are not aware of how gender-based violence comes about. So they use what we would say the craze of women empowerment and women support to carry out these false accusations. It is known, it is in the law, it is in Lagos State law, the VAP law as well, that false accusations will attract up to 3 years imprisonment or a fine of about 750,000 naira. So these false accusations have been really stepped on by those who are taking advantage of the fact that the populace are sympathetic towards the women.
Okay, but let me just follow up with this. Now you've said it, you know, that oftentimes 750,000 naira and then you can face a jail term. So why is it that these people, we now forgive them? What law can we now put in place? Because oftentimes we forgive these people. That of the other lady, oh, let's forgive her, is mental health. If we keep saying that, it keeps happening, we keep forgiving, what then happens?
Exactly. We can't keep forgiving. It is all sympathy at the end of the day. It is still sympathy. But there's this saying that the law knows no sympathy, and there is you can't tell the law I never knew. Yeah. It is there. What is expected is for us to raise more awareness about the provisions of the law so that people will get to know what provisions are there for those who are actually victims or survivors of this abuse, and what is there for those who are falsely accusing. There is a different law that attends to false accusations. When you report or false reports into law officials, there is a different law, like in the case of Mirabel, for those who give false statements. So we need to raise awareness to ensure that the public knows that there is a law backing it. It is a criminal offense. Firstly, it is a criminal offense to enact any act of gender-based violence or sexual violence. But then they should also know that the law is also there to tackle those who are falsely accusing. And by the time we start taking up these cases rather than forgiving out of sympathy, we take up the cases, people will get to know that, yes, it is something that is actually serious.
And I agree with you totally, because I believe that if there's a crime, there should be some punishment somewhere. Now, our society has changed. When I was growing up, a child is reared by the community. Everybody is interested in that child's well-being, especially the girl child. If the girl child is seen going to one, using street parlance, seen going to one choral, somebody will ask, what's she doing there? But we don't have that now, you know? Now, with the absence of that care, that community care, how do we strengthen community action?
Okay, like you've just said, we're losing some sense of community,
Yes.
in general,
Yeah.
because everybody is beginning to chase after their self-sufficiency. And it becomes, especially in Lagos, where we have so much going on, so many people, whatever is not directly affecting us becomes not our problem.
Yes.
It's shown itself in different cases. In the case of out-of-school children, in the case of all of what we can call, when those days when we see a child dressing in some sort of way, we get people to talk about them. But now what we see is some random boys trying to shame them, but in that instance, they are causing more sexual harassment.
Yes.
More harassment is going on. So we need to be able to understand that we need to go back to our communal sense to understand that there needs to be awareness raising for the community, the teachers in school, the traditional leaders, religious leaders most especially, because now the religious leaders are speaking just out of context and out of emotions, and they're speaking less on facts of what is going on about. So we need to really go back to that sense of community to understand that what affects another person also affects us indirectly one way or the other.
Absolutely. So looking at understanding the problem, putting a scale to it and looking at the numbers, because sexual and gender-based violence has become one of the most prevalent, vices that we have, or human rights challenges in Nigeria, which affect women, girls, even men,
yes.
as you've said, in Nigeria. So official figures suggest that 27,000 SGBV cases were recorded between 2020 and 2023, with more than 1,145 deaths and fewer than 400 convictions nationwide. So I'm wondering, from your experience working around this issue, how serious do you consider this SGBV crisis in Nigeria? Does this figure actually capture the full scale of the problem as we see it?
So that figure is from 2020, you say. There's been a lot of effort being put in since that time, being the advent of the National GBV Dashboard. So that figure is really representing most of the cases that have been reported. So there is a lot going on in our homes. I still received a call last night, about a case. So there is a lot going on in our homes that is not being reported. There are a lot of cultural norms. I have people very close to me who never knew, female, never knew that they are survivors of female genital mutilation. So there are still cultural norms that prevail that even people do not know that there are forms of GBV. There needs to be more awareness. And if I may tell you, out of that number, the 24,000 thereabout, only that covers only 30% of cases reported. And only 20% of that 30% is actually being taken up for to seek for justice. So there is still a lot that needs to be done. It is a national pandemic. It is an emergency case.
But then since we know that there are a whole lot of people who are not reporting, who are not getting it, probably because of the patriarchal society, and then you also mentioned, culture. Some of them are, cultural. What reporting mechanisms have been there for people to, make this report, and how effective have they been? I mean, how effective are they, and how much have they been utilized? Okay,
let me give a case study of some time when we were on the field recently, talking to some community people about how, they can report, and there are services, there's help for them. And whenever we mention the Nigerian police force, there is always this setback.
But it's not the business of the Nigerian police force to be meddling in husband and wives.
Oh, yes, it is. They do have family support units in the Nigerian police force. There is the family support unit. So it's not just the police force, actually. When we talk about sexual and gender-based violence, it goes beyond rape. It goes beyond sexual harassment. There is child abuse in it. There are various forms of abuse, economic abuse, psychological abuse. There are various forms. And thankfully, Lagos State, as it is, always pioneering things, have the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency that has been set up most prominently to deal with cases of domestic violence, sexual violence, and the rest of that. They have various services linked to, we've worked with them on various bases, They have community advocacy that we do together with my organization.
Yeah.
They also have various legal support, medical support, and there are instances, there are ways that reporting should be done. It is not well known. There needs to be more work that will be done. When in a case of rape, many people would say, oh, go to the police. You don't go to the police immediately. In some cases, yes, you can. But then, if the person's safety is threatened. But in most cases, where you go first is the general hospital. They have services provided there to attend to you, to check you, and then refer you accordingly in those lines. So there are various referral pathways. Even traditional leaders, community leaders are being trained. We're training them on various pathways to report these cases. But what people need to know, or what we need to do, is to make sure that it is brought down to the grassroots level, so that people begin to understand that the government is not a far-fetched idea. The government is we who are in the community, and the people who can hold ourselves accountable are us. So we need to begin to hold ourselves accountable and take up these cases, not to cover them as, oh, it's a family matter. Some people say, oh, it's a family matter. Some people say, oh, don't bring shame to our family name. Don't bring shame to our community name. No, it doesn't work like that. We need to be able to ensure that these cases are taken up through the right aspects, through the right channels, and then we'll begin to see changes and adjustments to people's behavior.
All right, so before we even talk about your organization, which you have been doing a fantastic job, because oftentimes I always say that when we talk about gender-based violence, awareness is very poor. And I like to say that in a way, it seems like they failed us in giving, the accurate information that is supposed to be given. I know that you have a project coming on which we'll speak about, but I want to take you up on some of the things that you've said, and then you can link it up to the project. You spoke about, dressing. And oftentimes I feel like the way a lady dress has nothing to do with what happens. A man should hold himself. If I decide I want to wear a short skirt, I want to wear a short skirt. I'm not wearing a short skirt because I want to tease a man, and a man should not come, to me because of that. So I just wanted to state that. And then also we talk about the fact that people do not want to report anymore. Let me take you to Ochanya's case. I'm sure you will have heard Ochanya's case. Yes. And I also want you to highlight for me during Ochanya's case what, did organizations like you do about it? Such a sad story. She passed away. Like, the little girl is no more again because of this gender-based violence. And we have so many organizations, but it's just talk, but we do not really see them implemented. So how does your own organization, bring a change, to protect children, not just girls, boys as well?
Okay, so firstly, there is no point, no instance where a survivor's dressing justifies whatever act has been done. The act has to be taken up separately. It is a case of the family or morals or parents that have to do with any of that. But then, in the case of Ochanya, it's a very sad case, because a lot of us, my colleagues as well in the eastern part, in that part of the country, tried to take up this case. But then we find out that more often than not, sometimes there are some people who are in the justice system who try to sit on these cases to avoid them getting justice. And why? It's majorly because of these cultural norms. Because someone would say, oh, we don't want a stain on our family name. Oh, we don't want a stain. If it's the case of the perpetrator, who may be more powerful than the survivor, there is also a power play in the case of people feeling wary about reporting. There is that power play. But then it all boils down on awareness raising. It all boils down on capacity building. So, for example, for what we're doing right now at Atlas Initiative, we are working with community. We work with grassroots communities to talk to traditional leaders, to talk to religious leaders, community leaders. We've been recently in Ijora speaking with the traditional leaders community. I'm not talking about the Bales, I'm talking about those who are doing the Isheshe community, those who are doing these homegrown traditional religions. And we get to see that even they have very little knowledge about the cases of SGBV. We've been to various communities where we ask this question and they say, oh, it's in our culture. But then by the time we dissect it, we get to see that culture is basically people's behavior that has stayed over time. So some people's bad behavior ends up being what we call culture. And by the time we get to dissect it that way, these people who are promoting such culture get to see that it is not.
It's a bad culture.
It is not something. It is not actually in their culture. We get to see that if you look at Yoruba culture back into date, they protect women.
Yeah.
They protect even men.
Men, too.
They protect even men. So we get to see that it is very important for us to challenge these cultural norms. While we're challenging it is when we're finding out, oh, there is still cases of female genital mutilation going on. And if it's happening in your community and your community is frowning against it, some of them leave the community to go outside to get it done. Because why? They feel, some of the survivors, I don't mean people who caught, I mean people who take themselves to get caught voluntarily, because they feel it's a rite of passage before marriage. And where is that ever stated? It was never stated.
Oh, well, they said the thing that is stronger than the atomic bomb is belief.
Exactly.
You believe in something, you'll do anything, to ventilate your belief. Now, awareness is not cheap. And I guess that's where organizations like yours have a lot of problem. In this thing we're discussing today, no matter how much English we speak, it boils down to awareness and capacity building. What steps are you taking to get the kind of support you need to get awareness more effective than as it is right now? Capacity building, it's not as difficult as the general awareness creation. So what are the support systems organizations like yours have created, and what is the success rate?
If I may turn your word around a bit, sir, awareness raising is a bit more easier than capacity building. Awareness raising can happen from you standing against something on your own. Being a bystander is enough to raise awareness in some cases.
Right.
However, when we try to build capacity, that's where you need to spend more time with people. We need to spend more time, spend more resources with people. So it's a good thing that globally there is some attention being paid to ending SGBV. There are various donor organizations across the world that are supporting organizations like ours to raise this awareness and build capacity. Even the Lagos State government, Her Excellency, the wife of His Excellency, the First Lady, was down to the grassroots in December during the festive period to raise awareness on SGBV. She came to Ikorodu, where some of our organizations are, to raise awareness about this case of SGBV, to stand with organizations like this. That's one thing that can also help the awareness raising. When we have people who are in places of prominence standing with those who are fighting against it, it's something that happens. Capacity building also is very, very important and is very key. Not just about knowing about SGBV, but also equipping young people, equipping survivors with valuable skills that can help them be more confident and help them reduce their vulnerability. For example, we train some people with disability, some persons with disability on upcycling. Upcycling is turning waste to usable product to very
waste.
Yeah, so it's
Waste to
different
wealth,
from recycling. Yeah, waste to wealth is different from recycling, but it's making use of waste as it is to make it something functional. And we saw instant impact. Persons with disabilities talking about how they would take this up because they don't easily get jobs, and this makes them more vulnerable. So when they're able to learn such skills, they're able to reduce their vulnerability, and it helps them.
Before we let you go, because of our time, I don't know, your organization, is it only domiciled in Lagos and Ogun State? Does it go beyond? And could you just quickly talk to us about the projects that you have in both states?
My organization,
and
Atlas,
how people can actually, when they go through this kind of problem, maybe they see someone, in their house, they have to report. How do they get through?
Okay, so Atlas Initiative, as you can see, is a young organization. We started in Lagos and Ikorodu, and we are focused on promoting learning for sustainable development. We're expanding now into Ogun State and other states with support from partners around that we have. But
Does this
what we're
partner
trying
include the government?
Yes, the partner includes the government. We're partnering with DSVA. We're partnering with Ogun State SGBV Committee, the various SAC centers. They have 4 major SAC centers in Ogun State. We're partnering with them. We're supporting the work that they do to support survivors, support the toll-free lines, to ensure that communities, to promote those toll-free lines, to ensure that communities know about these lines, they are accessible, and reporting can be more seamless. So our work is really transcending from being just one community or just the Lagos community to a national level where we are engaging with government organizations. Sometimes people see engaging with government organizations as looking for money from them, but it's not all about looking for money. It's about what support can we give to one another to ensure that the issues in our community are being listened to and are being worked on.
But how long is the project going to last for?
It's been going on since last year. This particular project.
No, I mean this particular
project. Yeah, it's been going on since last year, and it's slated to end by March or April, depending on the volume of the cases that we get to attend to. However, it's never ending.
I was about to go there.
It's never ending.
But so far, what have you recorded? You know, in this, you started last year. It's going to be ending in April. What have you? Would you say that you've recorded a good amount?
So we've been able to reach out to over 20 survivors that we've supported with emergency support. We have mostly. We are trying to promote the referral pathways to ensure that our project is not about saying we want to come and respond to cases.
Yeah.
We want to promote the referral pathways within grassroots so that even without our presence, they are able to attend to cases. We're training community champions. We've trained over 20 community women in these various communities that are there domiciled and attend to cases that come about. We also
pro bono. Those
pro bono. They're all volunteers.
Great.
They're all volunteers. We train them for 1 week on SGBV and ways that they can attend to cases to report. We don't train them to become freedom fighters.
Yeah.
We train them to know about the referral pathways so that they can also they can direct and guide community members towards the available referral pathways. So it's a never-ending work. It is something that would always continue. That would go on even after this project period or the funding period. It's something that we are also actively looking out for more support to ensure that we are able to expand, especially the community champion network, to expand that network to ensure that it goes nationwide, and champions can also recruit more champions from within the community. I mean, I started out as a volunteer, and I'm here the executive director of the organization.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it is something that creates a ripple effect.
Yeah, we must end the conversation here. But before that, I just want to say congratulations. What you're doing is fantastic. We are so proud of you, and we're always here to speak about it. And I hope and I pray that you truly get the support that you deserve, so that we can cut across to other states. Well done. It's a beautiful one. Well done.